Final ending of The Bounce, Part 1 down below. Danny perched on my shoulders as we entered. While my dad was in the room, as usual, watching a sports talk show, my mom and Becky were having a conversation in the kitchen. I said, "Hello, Becky," in a circumspect but upbeat manner. "When son returned to you with just a little extra wear around the edges," I replied. In the meantime, Danny had begun to go into great detail with anyone who would listen about what we'd done. She said, "Hi Steve, it's been a while," as she gave me a wide-eyed look. She must have noticed the adjustments. At that moment, a horrified expression overtook her face. "You're looking fit, single life must be agreeing with you." "I'm sorry, that was callous of me." I looked at her and replied, "That's all right, it's all in the past now, anyway." Becky appeared worn out. She appeared to have aged by 10 years. Once more cropped short, her long brown hair appears to have gained more than a few pounds. I won't say anything about her outfit other than to remark it wasn't very fashionable. She tried to push her hair back to make it seem a little nicer when she realized I was measuring her up. "I'm sorry I must look awful, I'm just getting over the flu." "I'm sorry to hear that, but I have to go," I murmured, kissing and hugging Danny. I walked out to my car on rubbery knees and gave my mom a smooch on the cheek, saying, "Take care, Becky, maybe we'll see each other around." Yes, she appeared disorganized, but she was still our son's mother, Becky. There was something there even though she wasn't nearly as attractive as Amber or some of the other females I'd dated. My mother contacted me on Monday night. "Well, Mom, I'm kind of surprised. I thought for sure you would have called me Sunday night with all the new gossip and with what Becky thought of the new Steve." "Okay, let's hear it. Can't a mother just call her son to say, 'Hi, how's it going?'" "Okay, Mom, we'll play it your way." Becky looked a wreck. She looked like she'd been ridden hard and put away wet. I guess she had no idea I was running late unless you failed to tell her, which wouldn't surprise me in the least. "How am I doing so far?" "Honey, you know I don't like to say anything bad about anyone, but let me just say that a certain lady was beyond floored. When her lower jaw hit the floor, all I could do was smile. Not that I wish her any ill will, mind you. She called you a hunk and asked if you were dating anyone. I told her a few, but no one seriously. I think someone regrets what she did, especially after finding out she hasn't been out on a date in the last 4 months. My mother would have made an excellent CIA agent. She could elicit the most minute details with just a question and a grin. I guess I just wanted to see her reaction to seeing you again. I wanted to see the look on her face after what she put you through. I needed to show her how far you've come without her fat butt." I laughed and said, "Remind me not to get on your bad side, Mom." "Steve, remember the Rotary auction is next weekend and you promised." "Please, Mom," I begged. "Honey, you promised. And you said you had 2 other guys that would also do it. It's for the kids' summer camp fund." All right. Jim and Tim said they'd go along with it because it's for a good cause, but they made me promise that you wouldn't get them sold to some 60-year-old lady. It's an auction. I have no control who wins whom, and don't worry, no one is expecting them to sleep with the winner, unless they want, that is. Mom, do I have to wash your mouth out with soap? I feel like I'm being pimped out. Just for one night and just in case, your dad will be there to make sure you show up. That week, the 3 of us worked out very hard. I ate very little so order to appear trim. My dad loved the kids' summer camp, and he put his all into it each year. He attempted to surpass the 100 children he sent to camp the previous year. He had auctioned off 3 bachelors at a posh charity event that he and my mother had attended. My mom started to think when they made so much money. And God help us all when my mom has an idea in her head. I had talked 2 other people into it, and she had talked me into it. "Come on, guys, it'll be fun and we get free drinks and food." Jim remarked, "I can just see it. Some old bat is going to win me and expect me to do the big nasty with her." He sighed. Tim laughed and said, "Maybe it'll be some good-looking gay guy. Won't you feel crunchy then?" As I mentioned earlier, they were going to do it, but they were doing it more for me because they were my friends, and that's what friends do. Guys, it's the damn Rotary for Christ's sakes, and we're not Chip and Dale dancers, so let's not worry too much about it. We all dressed our best and hired tuxedos. I didn't eat, but I did have 2 drinks to ease the tension of the evening. After dinners at Olive Garden and Longhorn Steakhouse, we were the last participants in the program. Otherwise, it was just class. When Tim stepped onto the stage, the place was crowded. The bidding began at $50 and reached a little over $200. Jim's grin increased the bid to slightly more than $250. Third place went to me. I said over the microphone, "Ladies and gentlemen, remember why we're here, it's for the kids." I was playing to the audience when I said, "Dig deep until it hurts and then dig a little deeper." The MC took the microphone from me and the bidding got underway. After the bidding reached a standstill at slightly more than $300, I undid my bow tie, unzipped my jacket, and proudly displayed my 6-pack to all. The MC spoke to the crowd. "Now, wouldn't you like to take something like this home with you tonight?" Many of the older women flushed, but the younger ones went much further. There were 2 women left in the bidding. The illumination was so bad that I was unable to tell who they were. They began raising the bids in increments of $5 and $10 when it reached $350, and one person withdrew when it reached $440. You must be thinking that Becky won me over, isn't that right? I apologize for letting you down, but she didn't. That evening, she was present, but she left when the transaction over $100 and merely observed from the sidelines. No, it was a flirtatious blonde, maybe 38, who approached the stage to demand her due. What was I going to say? No, when she asked, "You ready to go?" Wearing an exquisite outfit, she showed me where the Cadillac Escalade was parked. She said, tossing me the keys, "You drive. Can I ask where we're going?" I thought we'd play it by ear after a quiet dinner. "Oh, by the way, my name is Shelley," she replied, grinning perfectly. She must have added 10 pounds to her dynamite figure because she wasn't from around here and was covered in so much gold and diamonds. After nearly 30 minutes of driving, I was perplexed when she instructed me to make 2 left and a right. Upon arriving at the stunning home, we saw that the restaurant was nowhere to be found. She noticed my perplexity. She took my arm and we went inside. I said a quiet dinner. I didn't say where, did I? She asked. The first dish appeared to be waiting for us at the fully set table in the formal dining room. "I hope you like salad because I'm a vegan and I don't eat meat. It's your night and we're playing by your rules." My dinner was completed with a medium rare steak, tomato bisque soup, and Caesar salad. I think Shelley had some sort of salad, but I'm not sure. Although it appeared to be a piece of chicken, I knew it wasn't. We sat on the back pool deck, enjoying a glass of wine, and for the first time, we actually spoke. I was so full that I told her, maybe later. "I know all about you, Steve, and I'm quite impressed by your manner tonight. A little cocky, but you knew what you were doing up there. Your dad will be happy because I gave him an extra large tip that should send more than a few needy kids to camp this summer. I especially liked the part where your ex started also bidding for you. She knew she didn't stand a chance in hell, but she did it anyway." "Who are you?" "An out-of-town businesswoman enjoying the attractive winnings of an auction I never meant to lose for a few hours." She approached me closely, kissed my bottom lip, and then pressed her mouth against mine. This was beginning to head in a direction I wasn't entirely sure about. "Why don't we skip the after-dinner drink and go straight on to the dessert?" I posed the question, "You're married, aren't you?" Knowing the response, Shelley asked, taking another sip of her wine, "Does that make a difference to you?" She paused for a minute and sent me a stern look before responding. "To me, no, but I'm curious, doesn't it bother you to cheat on your husband? We don't have an open marriage exactly, but we both are allowed a few indiscretions. No intercourse of any sort is allowed, and it can be only a one-time thing with whomever. This way, when we're out of town and we need a little release, we can get it without exactly calling it cheating. You may not agree with it, but it works for us. I don't think I could handle it. Steve, we both love each other to death, but since we're both on the road often, this is a lot easier way to get rid of stress than to get a divorce over a damn BJ. But enough of this talk, we've got more important things we can be doing," she added as she kissed my lips. She didn't like my response, so she sent me back to my car in a cab after giving me 2 more wonderful kisses. She turned me around, kissed me once more, and said, "Oh, by the way, Amber sends her love." I was just leaving the home when she said that, which made me dizzy and reached for my pocket phone. "We just went out to supper and chatted," I told my mom. She did say that Becky was still interested in speaking with me, but I never managed to get around to giving her a call. I went, despite my dad's criticism that it was corny, and I approached the stage to receive my diploma. I had worked really hard and sacrificed a lot of blood and sweat to acquire every credit, therefore I deserved to graduate with my class. Everyone congratulated me on my achievement during the party at my parents' house, but they also seemed to be asking me if it was worth it. Rather than merely dropping Danny off, Becky spent the entire evening with him. She appeared to be staring my direction at all times while conversing with my family and friends. As the celebration was coming to an end, I quietly followed her. I was there when she turned around to search for me this time. She composed herself and asked, "Jesus Christ, Steve, are you trying to give me a damn heart attack? Becky, do you want to go out sometime and just talk? I mean, we never had or took the time, and I think it's long overdue, don't you? Anytime you want. Just give me a little notice to set up babysitting." "Okay, set it up for this Saturday, and I'll pick you up at your mom's place about 7 o'clock. We can have a nice dinner and go back to my place and talk and maybe put some old issues to rest." "That sounds good," she grinned. It was a busy week. I received a pay increase, and even though I had to work for them for 6 more months to finish my education, they were unwilling to let me quit. "Look, Steve, I can give you a 7.5% increase immediately and another 5.5 in 9 more months. You're coming along quite well, and although I can't promise you anything, you are being looked at for an entry-level management position down the line," said my manager. Hell, I had no intention of moving anywhere in this economy. Although my time at the gym was limited, I continued to work there. Although the additional cash was under the table, which was wonderful, it was aging. A boy I'd met there was training me, and he'd cover for me anytime I was busy. I was beginning to appreciate my post-college freedom much more, but I was going to miss working out for free. On Saturday, after picking Becky up, I went to a little Japanese eatery that I was familiar with in my neighborhood. Though more quieter and more reserved than the last Becky, she was nonetheless friendly. We spent an hour and a half eating and chit-chatting like 2 16-year-olds on their first date because the food was fantastic. My goal was to establish a relaxed and informal environment for both of us before we discussed the difficult topics from our past. It was a silent and stressful trip to my house. I had a 6-pack of Corona in the fridge and had picked up a bottle of Becky's favorite wine. As I already stated, there was nothing to write home to mother about at my residence. Despite being a 1-bedroom apartment in an older building nearby, it was tidy and roomy, with a fully equipped kitchen and living area. I opened the wine bottle, poured her a full glass, then got myself a cold one without even asking if she wanted a drink. She followed me into the living room when I said we'd probably be more comfortable there. After placing her on the couch, I took a seat in the chair across from her. Once more, silence. It appears that neither of us knew where to begin. Glancing about the room, she remarked, "This is a nice place you have here. It suits me for now, but I'll probably move closer to my folks now that I'm out of school." She blurted, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Steve. I listened to a bunch of people who I thought were my friends, but in the end didn't know crap about me or my life. You've got to believe that I never cheated on you up until that night, no matter what you think. There may have been a little grab and stuff like that, but I never did anything. I just need you to know that up front." Becky, I wanted to believe that, but with what little I saw, you can see how I had doubts. Even with what you call grab it, I wouldn't have been comfortable with. But I guess you knew that already. Steve, I just got angry and I never got over it. We had such a great life, and I had all these big plans, but in an instant they were all gone. I blamed you. Hell, I hated you for what happened. I was no more ready for motherhood than the man in the moon. Even at 22 I was still a spoiled and immature brat. I wanted to enjoy the whole college experience, not spend night after night up with a colicky baby. I don't know how many nights I sat in that rocking chair cursing you and Danny, wishing I could have just one do-over in my life, but as you know, do-overs don't happen in the real world. Why didn't you say something? We could have gone to counseling. Hell, you could have gone yourself to someone to address all those anger issues instead of pushing me to the side and trying to run away from something that could have been resolved with a little work. Like I said, I listened to the wrong people, the people you told me I couldn't see anymore. They told me that I'd be on easy street. You would give me child support, alimony, and make all the house payments. With my parents' help I could finish school and have it all. I know now I was delusional, but it sounded so good back then when all I had was stress and was just so tired all the time. When it all blew up in my face, I realized for the first time what I was doing, and I tried to backtrack. I, not anyone else, put together that plan of us living together. I figured I could still have it all. Becky, I knew from the start it wasn't going to work. I was still too much in love with you. It did nothing but hurt me living under the same roof, but apart from you. Steve, those last couple of months together were the best we'd had in well over a year. Do you remember how we used to laugh and interact? We were like a family again. You forget we still had the divorce hanging over our heads. I didn't forget. Whether you believe it or not, I was about to stop it completely until that stupid night. I figured that we, along with Danny, were older and we deserved another shot at happiness. What happened with Kevin wasn't supposed to happen. I wasn't even attracted to him. I guess the combination of alcohol and not being with anyone in such a long time proved to be too strong. All I remember was starting to kiss, and the next thing I knew he was between my legs. I can't say I didn't enjoy it because I did, or I at least did at that moment. I didn't think about what I'd done until just after he left, and then it sunk in. I prayed that you were either still gone or dead asleep. I found out later you were neither. You killed any chance we had that night. Do you know what it was like for me to lay down on my bed knowing you were making love to someone 2 floors above me? It took everything I had not to run upstairs and kill you both in what used to be our bed. I died, or what was left of me died that night. If you hated me, I hated you 10 times more back after that night. I wanted you to hurt. I wanted you to feel the pain you had put me through. You were no longer my wife, just some stupid woman who didn't have the courtesy to at least wait until our divorce became final before spreading her legs for the first guy who came around. I was once more furious. I could still feel the burning sensation in my stomach, which was unabated by drink or time. It wasn't love making, it was bonding. I hadn't made love to anyone since the last time we did it together. I'm human. I had needs. All you ever had to do was ask and I would have shared my bed with you in a heartbeat, but you never did. Share your bed. You were divorcing me, for Christ's sakes. And, why in the hell should I have had to ask? You were the one that started this fiasco. How in the hell could I have known that you wanted it? I was trying to rebuild our marriage, and you on the other hand were playing a mind game without bothering to tell me. So, if you're saying it was my fault, like everything else in our marriage, you can kiss my butt. It wasn't going well. She cried, searching for my response. All right, I screwed up big time. We screwed up big time. So where do we go from here? Do we hate each other until the day we die? Becky, what do you want? You, to try again once more. Not going to happen. Too much time and way too much hurt to go back. Who said go back? We could start again, maybe slower this time around. Look, I don't have a clue if we'd last even a day or two, but I'd like to try. Make a fresh start without any expectations or pressures. Like I said before, I don't think we'd have a chance in hell of making it. Maybe before, but not now. Will you at least think about it? Not wanting to raise her hopes, I told her I would. Before I drove her back to her parents' house, we spent the next hour talking, or rather, she chatted. My mind was overflowing with ideas. I took a short drive because I needed some time to myself. Hell, I took a lengthy trip in an attempt to sort out one problem at least. I had 2 coffees in my hand as I knocked on the door shortly after 7 in the morning. A drowsy girl pulled open the door. "Steve, what are you doing here? Do you know what time it is? I know it's early, but I need to talk to you." "Steve, this is not really a good time," she said, looking back into her apartment. "Are you staying in town? Maybe we can get together a little later this morning." "It's all right," I responded, passing her the 2 coffees. I turned around and ran down the stairs, saying, "I knew it was a dumb idea, but I had a lot on my mind, which I guess included you. Go back to bed and I'll catch up with you later." Before I could get away, I heard Amber shout my name twice. You would probably be correct if you said that I was impulsive. I found myself outside Amber's Atlanta apartment after 2 gas and rest stops. The only other female I had ever gone weak in the knees over was this one. How on earth was I thinking this? We had exchanged updates. We texted and emailed each other a lot, but we also spoke occasionally. She had always assured me that she was content with her life before I made the decision to sit down and at least have a conversation with her. Did she still find it interesting? That night, or should I say the next morning, I suppose, that was the question I was attempting to have answered. Occasionally, the surpriser is taken aback. I realized it would not be that simple. For the following 12 hours, Amber tried to text and contact me, but by the time I made it home, I was exhausted. Sunday was spent by myself in bed, pondering about the future of my life and sleeping. I was relieved that Monday was coming up so I could focus on something other than my personal life. After we finally got along, Amber told me that I should have called her rather than simply dropping by. She went on to inform me that our friendship went beyond simply being excellent friends, but we had never discussed becoming exclusive. She had to know, really, why I had driven up to see her. That was the question worth $10,000 now, wasn't it? I expressed my regret, assured her that it was just a foolish prank on my part, and told her not to worry. My mother was the one who helped me put everything into perspective. 3 weeks later, I was having dinner at my parents' place. After he was done, Dad watched TV in the den while I assisted my mom in doing the dishes. "Becky still cares for you, you do know that, don't you? And Danny is now at that age where he's starting to ask all the difficult questions as to why the 2 of you aren't together anymore. I guess she'll have to tell him the truth now, won't she? I see you still have anger," she added, passing me a filthy pot that needed to be cleaned. "Do you blame me? She screwed up, not me." "Steve, Becky was right about one thing, you both screwed up. In your short marriage you ended up living 3 separate lives. It was you, Becky, and Danny struggling in the beginning. Then it went to you working all the time and going to school, and finally it was her and her own schooling. Nothing was ever what I'd call normal. There was always some type of drama in your lives. But isn't that the way life is, Mom? Nothing went according to plan, and when things got tough she bailed on me. That's not exactly true now, is it? She went through the first couple of tough years, and she supported you when you worked and went back to school. It was only when she went back to school that there was a problem. At that point you two had already started growing apart and she wanted to regain her youth. I'm not saying she was wrong and you were right, or the other way around. It's just my observation. After that though, things got out of hand and the rest is history. She cheated on me. Steve, the 2 of you were by all accounts basically divorced, and she told me herself that she was drunk. I know that doesn't excuse what she did, but I don't think you can throw any stones when it comes to making stupid mistakes either. She then brought up the fact that it was I who initiated everything. After that, the subject passed away. Amber inquired about my well-being through phone calls and emails, and while I responded, my responses only provided a partial picture. Becky was avoiding me like the plague. She was seeing a therapist on her own and had made clear what she wanted to address many of her past difficulties. I could have gotten laid every week, to be honest. Hell, I could have gotten laid virtually every night if it had come to that. Don't get me wrong, most of the bonding from the past was incredible, but that's just because it was enjoyable. They always managed to tire me out even after I made sure they were more than happy. I should have been flattered, I think, but that just made things more difficult. I had just wrapped up my workday on Friday. I texted a couple of the people I might go out with for a cold one after work, but I didn't really have any plans. "I'm here at your house." For what length of time? It was sent by Amber. I knew that home was where I belonged, therefore I should have broken every speed record to get there, but I didn't. I made a few purchases at the store and considered my next course of action. Since there was no chance involved while dealing with Amber, I would be lucky tonight. I was certain she would be waiting for me at my apartment because I had already told her where my hide key was. Before I could close the door, she was in my arms and in my mouth, so she must have been staring out the window. She gave me another kiss and toned it really deep. "I didn't think you would ever get home," she murmured. "Driving makes me feel grungy. Let's take a shower and we can discuss our weekend while we're in there." By 6:30 on a Saturday morning, Amber was curled up under my arm as I lay on my back in bed gazing up at a pitch-black ceiling. I had nearly forgotten how wonderful of a lover she was. One eye was opened before the other by her. She gave me a smile and a kiss before bolting for the bathroom. A short while later, I heard her prancing across the room in all her splendor, as well as the flush in the sink. Her lips told me she was awake and eager to go again after she, I believe, performed a 1.5 tuck to get back on the bed. That morning, we had sex. We gave and took until we both felt one another peak and begin to descend, lips pressed and hands entwined over our heads. Her eyes still closed, I rolled off her and pulled her in close, kissing the top of her head as I did so. That was nice, she added, drawing herself even closer, if that was possibly possible. When I woke up, it was almost 10:30 and I was starving, but I really should have taken a shower first. Amber was exhausted as I hauled her out of bed and forced her to accompany me in the warm shower. There is no such thing as a quick shower with Amber. Hands, lips, and tongues were all a-moving till the water cooled. We quickly withdrew, leaving just cold water on our clothes, and wore only the minimum. You hungry? She smiled as she poured coffee. I just had breakfast. What do you have for lunch? I remarked, very funny, while preparing some sausage patties and French toast for us. After completing breakfast, we rested and drank our second cup of coffee. You made quite an impression on my boss. She said that you were the first guy that ever turned her down. I figured you'd at least give her a tumble and told her if you did, she wouldn't be disappointed. You pimping me out now. Quite the contrary, you pimped yourself out. She just took advantage of it. Shelley's in great shape, isn't she? She and her husband own 3 gyms in the Atlanta area and are building another one just outside of Athens. They're great bosses. Now, why the surprise visit? Were your hormones acting up and you needed a little release only the way I can give you? You do know you scared the crap out of the guy I was with. He thought you were a jealous boyfriend and that he was dead meat. She chuckled. Amber gave me an odd look and told me about her life, saying, just hitting a fork in the road and needed to look at the map to see where I'm going. While pursuing her degree in exercise science, she was also redesigning every course offered at every facility. She cherished Atlanta's vibrant nightlife and her fast-paced lifestyle. Amber seemed to have her head and butt linked together, and she had her entire life mapped out. On paper, at least, she knew exactly what she wanted and how to obtain it. Steve, you know there are a ton of good jobs in Atlanta. I know you could find one that probably would pay you a lot more than what you're making now. Besides, you wouldn't have to drive 7 hours to get the quality call you deserve. She kissed me once more. On Saturday, we caught up and spoke. She continued to give me the willies. She beat her own record that evening. I was a pool of sweat and had lost all body fluid by the time the energy bunny finished working with me. I simply nodded, drew her in close, and fell asleep without saying, I'm still the best, aren't I? As it was, life was good. In the kitchen, she found me shortly after 9 o'clock. I had prepared breakfast and waited for her to wake up before beginning to eat. She said, damn, I could get used to this type of treatment in a hurry, as she grabbed a coffee and sat down at the breakfast bar beside me. I need to get out of here by at least noon. It's a long drive and I hate doing it in the dark. After enjoying a lovely breakfast together, we got in the shower around 10 o'clock. Until, just like yesterday, we ran out of hot water. We ended up kissing and tongue-biting against the back shower wall. Your turn next time, she said, getting her stuff together, getting ready to leave. Give me a couple of weeks and then come up. If you come up on Friday, I'll show you around the town. Maybe you can set up a few job interviews, she said in a cheerful manner. She abruptly interrupted me when I started to say Amber. She already knew what I was going to say. No, I don't want to hear it. Do you hear me? We can make this happen. I know we can. I embraced her and wanted to cry. 7 hours. It's not that damn far. I can be exclusive knowing I'm going to see you every other week. We can make this work. I felt empty in my stomach for the second time in my life. I think the world of you and maybe love you, but I just can't. My son and family are here and I can't leave them, not yet anyway. You've got plans and are nowhere near ready to settle down just yet. Maybe in a couple of years, who knows? I said to myself. It was effortless to be with her, not just because of the incredible bonding. Steve, let's just give ourselves some time. Let's not write this off just yet. I told you to keep me on the top of your list and I still mean that. Hell, you're not running away to get married tomorrow, are you? Give it time, that's all I ask. She wasn't going to take no for an answer. I gave her a kiss, helped her to her car, and advised her to drive safely. After tossing her suitcase onto the back seat and giving her a forceful hug and several kisses, I said her farewell. That morning, I died a little bit more, but I also came to the realization that I couldn't alter my life to satisfy the demands of others. I had to live my life, not that of another person. I got an apartment near to my parents' house and quit my second job. I'm focusing on getting my life back in order right now. Life continued after I established my priorities, which were my family and then my job. I made sure to see Danny at least twice a week, and I decided to confront and let go of my anger rather than run away from Becky. Becky is still considering a fresh start with me. In the past 2 months, our family has gone out on a few dates together. But I'm not in a rush to get started right now, and Becky is busy with Danny and doing schoolwork. Will our relationship work again? I'm not sure about it because of trust difficulties, but stranger things have happened. Amber, she has informed me that she would be visiting Central Florida in 2 weeks and has asked me to reserve the entire weekend for her. In order to be ready for her vacation, I'm working out a little harder at the gym and taking an additional vitamin every day. However, I'm staying at my house with Becky on Friday night instead of morning. She's referring to it as a booty call weekend, and since I've learned a few new tricks myself, I'm curious to see if she has too. Have I healed up completely? Not quite yet. Such a loss is not something you experience and come out of it unscathed. Though it still aches to think about it, I no longer drive myself crazy by speculating and asking what-if questions. I don't have a deadline in mind, but my goal is to someday settle down and find someone great to share my life with. It will occur when it does. In any case, I think that's how it's supposed to work. My comments: Steve has turned himself around and can do better than those low-tier women. Especially better than Becky, who jumps another's bone just a few feet away from him. A short ending, but it's a good one.